fascists in white coats, the CIA's Dr. Louis Gillian West and the UCLA Neuropsychiatric Institute, the Constantine Report. Photo: in 1972, Dr. Louis J. West, deceased, a ranking CIA psychiatrist, also a director of the Conservative American Family Foundation and the False Memory Syndrome Foundation, an organization founded by pedophile apologists that marginalizes victims of ritual abuse and libels their advocates, with an obsessive interest in mind control, proposed experimenting on the brains of blacks and Latinos, to determine why these minorities are prone to violence. Prisoners, women and children at a secret psychiatric unit at an abandoned Nike missile base in the mountains near UCLA. According to Dr. West in private correspondence, comparative studies could be carried out there, in an isolated but convenient location, of experimental or model programs for the alteration of undesirable behavior. According to Dr. West, the major known correlates of violence are sex, male, age, youthful, ethnicity, black, and urbanicity. Dr. West advocated a wide range of treatments, including chemical castration, psychosurgery and experimental drugs, incorporating computer databases to track pre-delinquent youth for preemptive treatment of black youth with no criminal record. The proposed Center for the Study and Prevention of Violence was shot down a year later by the California state legislature after the racist agenda of Dr. West's barbaric psychiatric gulag was exposed by illegitimate scientists and the press. AC. Dr. Louis Gillian Jolly West. The center was to be set up to develop behavioral indicators, profiles, biological correlates, to assist school administrators, law enforcement personnel and governmental departments to detect and control overt expression of life-threatening behavior by identifiable individuals and groups. In explaining the work of the center, Dr. West said that in some patients, outbursts of uncontrolled rage have definitely been linked to abnormal electrical activity in deeply buried areas of the brain. For many years, neurologists have measured the electrical activity of the brain with electrodes attached to the scalp. Now by implanting tiny electrodes deep within the brain, electrical activity can be followed in areas that cannot be measured from the surface of the scalp. The future looked even more promising, Dr. West declared. It is even possible to record bioelectrical changes in the brains of freely moving subjects, through the use of remote monitoring techniques. Many critics of Dr. West's proposal were up in arms over the fact that 2 junior high schools would provide much of the source material for the investigation into the genetic factors which predisposed violence, one in a predominantly black ethnic area, the other in a predominantly Chicano area. One of most persistent critics of the center proposed by Dr. West was Dr. Isidore Zeiferstein, Associate Clinical Professor of Psychiatry at the UCLA Neuropsychiatric Institute. "We have a new situation on our hands," Dr. Zeiferstein said. "Because of the intensifying economic decline, it is inevitable that more and more jobless will go beyond the limits of the law to satisfy their needs. There are probably upwards of 30% of our population who are permanently impoverished, and once these 30% become convinced that the democratic process is not working for them, they become desperate and may resort to violent means. There is a rising radicalism in their midst, and there is an uppityness among the blacks and the Chicano prisoners which prison officials find intolerable. To subdue them, the authorities are using new methods. They're employing the psychiatric armamentarium and a new technological tool set, what has come to be known as psychotechnology. Under the guise of therapeutic behavior modification, they're applying anything from anecdyne and other aversive drugs to psychosurgery. For the first time in the history of the United States, criteria were to be set up for the labeling of individuals believed to be potentially criminal, even though they had committed no crime. Those to be drawn upon for experimentation would be children, minority group members, and prisoners. Dr. Zeiferstein scorned the idea of predicting which people are potentially violent. This means labeling persons as potential criminals, and involves a serious threat to civil liberties,